So, when I travel very often, there are these weird synchronicities and things that happen. And I'm always looking for them now because I know, you come to expect it. So there's a really fun one. 2 weeks ago when I was here, I spoke from this book, The Great Work of Your Life. And we were talking about life purpose. And I had heard about this from some other people and been sitting on my shelf. And for the topic that was needed, it was just the perfect book. So I've just been devouring this thing. And we get to Big Sky. And as soon as we walk into the reception area to get registered and all, what is Gail? I don't know. One of the members of the board, she grabs me. She says, "Would you do the invocation Monday night?" I said, "Sure, I'd be glad to." So I look at the program, and the person who was speaking Monday night was Michael Gott. Reverend Michael Gott. He's a phenomenal singer, CSL Houston. And guess what his title was? The Great Work of Your Life. Isn't that awesome? I just love when those things happen. I said, "Michael, have you read the book?" He says, "Yeah, but the title came to me before I even knew about the book." So it's just wonderful. Love those little coincidences. So anyway, that's what we're talking about, the great work of your life, a guide for the journey to your true calling. And I'm just going to give you a little kind of summary from what we talked about 2 weeks ago and bring everybody up to speed. So this book is based on wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita, which is the spiritual book of the Hindu tradition. It's over 2,000 years old. And it inspired Henry David Thoreau, it inspired Gandhi, and it inspired Ernest Holmes, who is the one that started this movement that we call Centers for Spiritual Living, also called religious science, also called science of mind. We have a little bit of an identity issue here. With all these different names, it is still all the same teaching. I prefer to go with Centers for Spiritual Living because then you don't have to explain all the other stuff. People say, are you Scientology? Are you Christians? No, it's totally different. No, we're not a cult. We're just a wonderful new thought teaching. Anyway, so the Bhagavad Gita inspired all those folks. It teaches about spiritual development and fulfillment, and that it can happen through our engagement with the world. Not that we have to go up and be in a cave someplace, or be a monk, or separate ourselves from everything to be spiritual. This is about a spiritual path that involves you being involved in the world, in your family, at work, in your community, and it's about action. It's a spiritual path based on action. And it describes a path for fulfilling your dharma. How many of you have heard that word, dharma? Okay, so great. Yes, the word dharma means lots of things. There are words in other languages that are hard to translate word for word, so it has a lot of feel to it. But it means really your sacred duty. It could be your essence. It's your vocation. It's really what you came here to do and to be in this world. And this book, the Bhagavad Gita, gives you a path for getting there. So let me go back to this. As the story goes in the Bhagavad Gita, there is the hero of the story, and his name is Arjuna. And Arjuna is a warrior, and he finds himself on a battlefield with his charioteer, who is Krishna, who's actually his God in disguise, and he doesn't know when he's speaking to his charioteer that this is actually God. So as he's going through his changes, he's getting wisdom from Krishna. And Arjuna gets out there on the battlefield, and he looks out as he's getting ready to fight, because he's a warrior, and that's what he's born to do. And he looks out, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's family. He's supposed to fight family. He realizes that the enemy that he's looking at is actually relatives. So now he's in a quandary, right? Because he doesn't want to fight with his family, but he doesn't want to not do what he came to do. And what he did, he falls. He literally falls in his chariot and just falls to the ground, paralyzed in fear. I can't do this. I don't know what to do. It's a terrible choice. And don't we all have decisions that we have to make sometimes? It's just, it's two really not good choices. And maybe I'd rather not make either one. Right? Has anybody ever been in that position? So that's how the story starts and how it unfolds. Doubt is a paralyzing affliction. When we get in that situation, we have to make a decision, don't know whether to go this way, that way, I'm not going to make a decision, you realize that is also a decision. But doubt, that doubt is a paralyzing affliction. So Arjuna is asking these questions of himself. How do I know what's mine to do? How do I choose between two really difficult courses of action? What happens if I make the wrong choice? And does it matter which decision I make? So all of these are things that he's wrestling with, which are things that we all wrestle with day in and day out, which is what makes this such a powerful teaching that's been around for so many years, because it speaks to the truth of who we are as human beings and some of the struggles that we all share. We all look different on the outside, but on the inside we're all dealing with many of the same things. You, me, each one of us. So again, the book is about finding your true calling and how do you work through all of those questions. What's the wisdom that will lead you to make the right choices and to really live your Dharma? So, to find your true calling, this is what we talked about 2 weeks ago. Look to your Dharma, in other words, your higher self. What is it that I came here to do? You know, each one of us comes into this world, whether you believe it or not. You know, and a lot of you may not believe this. Everybody comes here with gifts and with talents that are utterly unique to you. And if you don't give them life, who will? Right? Maybe you hadn't been told that when you were a child. Maybe you were told, well, who do you think you are? I think a lot of us heard those kinds of words growing up and forget the gift and the talents that we have, or think, well, this is no big deal, it's just me. But we all have unique gifts and talents that we're here to share. That's why we're here. So that was one of the things. To find your true calling is to look to those things, to look to those gifts, to look to the things that move you, to look to the things that give you life as your purpose. Why are you here? Rediscover. It's discover your passions, but for some of us, it's rediscovering our passions. Most of us had dreams. How many of you wanted to be like, a half dozen different things when you were a little kid? Right? I wanted to be an astronaut and to be a doctor and a judge and like all these different things. Not all at the same time. I even wanted to drive race cars. I thought that would be a really cool thing at one time. But when you're a kid, the world is wide open. You want to do everything and you want to experience everything and you think you're fabulous at everything. And then life somehow just kind of squishes you down. You get smacked around a little bit. Who do you think you are? You're not good at that. Or you lose that race or that pageant or that contest, or you get an F on a test and you start to doubt who you are. And you start to not believe in those passions and gifts anymore. The other thing that is to give ourselves permission to enjoy whatever the heck it is that we enjoy, whatever your passion is, to just give yourself permission to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. We've kind of grown up in this kind of Puritan kind of a thing that it's not work unless you're really sweating it out. Or it's you've got to suffer. Yes, you've got to suffer or it's not worthwhile. Well, how about enjoyment? How about that? How about living from that place of, I love my life. I love my life. And sometimes, I don't know if you're like me, but you get to that point like, it's just so wonderful. And then you think, what's going on now? Like, too good to be true? Yeah. Too good to be true? That happens for a lot of us too. But we want to give ourselves permission to enjoy whatever it is that we enjoy, even if it's not what somebody else loves to do. It was us two couples out there at Big Sky, and my husband and I really enjoy the hiking and the trails, and that is not Norma's thing at all. So we found the day where we could do our thing and they could do their thing, and it's totally okay for us to enjoy different things, even within a couple. Right? You don't have to love everything your wife does or everything your husband does, but give yourself permission. I'm giving Ron permission to do what he likes to do. And it doesn't have to be what Gail likes. And that's okay. That's okay. So give yourself permission. The next thing is to listen for your call, to feel. Give yourself space to listen to that still small voice. And when you see the opportunities for your talents and your gifts to be useful, step into that and act, which is that action. Act with intention, because action changes things. Action changes things. It's not just about sitting and meditating and I'm going to imagine all these wonderful things and I'm going to vision and wait for them to come to me. Does that work? No, we have to actually do something. Right? We have to get into action. It's not just, there's a lot of pieces to this. But it does require that we have that time in the quiet, that we take that time to vision and we take that time to use our imagination, but it also requires that we get up and move. You know, we say in religious science, treat. Yes, we want to pray, we want to treat, but we also want to move our feet. You treat and you move your feet. You get into action. And then the last thing that we talked about was releasing your attachment to the outcome. That's a difficult one. That can be a difficult one. And that's where I'm going to focus my attention today. Releasing attachment to outcome. By the way, these are all pictures that we took at Yellowstone and up in Big Sky. So this is a quote from the Bhagavad Gita, and I know there's lots of different versions, and this is the one that I got out of this book. Krishna tells Arjuna, you have a right to work, but never to the fruit of that work. You should never engage in action for the sake of reward, nor should you long for inaction. What's he saying there? You should never engage in action for the sake of reward. Basically. What's that?
Working for the money.
Working for the money, right? Trading your life energy for dollars. That's not something that is going to help you find your calling. Okay, it's not about that. You don't engage in the action for the sake of the reward or for the pat on the back. You engage in the action for the love of doing whatever it is that you do. Nor should you long for inaction. What's that? How many of us are looking and thinking, gosh, when I retire and I can finally sit back and I don't have to work and I'm going to be on the beach with my margaritas and, you know, just, I don't know. For me, that would be terribly, terribly boring. That would be terribly boring. I just can't even imagine not doing something because I get so much joy out of what I do. You know, to me, that would be almost a nightmare to have to sit on the beach and be in action. But at any rate, it is a dream, I suppose, for some people. So you should not long for inaction. Perform work in this world, Arjuna, as a man established within himself, without selfish attachments and alike in success and defeat. To have that calmness and steadiness in success and defeat. That's quite a task, don't you think? Putting all of that together. Do what it is that you do without any attachment to the outcome, without looking for any kind of reward, and do it without attachments alike in success and defeat. Well, I think it's a little challenging, so I thought we'd look into this a little bit deeper. Those who are motivated only by desire for the fruits of action are miserable, for they are constantly anxious about the results of what they do. This is what Krishna tells Arjuna. Let me say it again. Those who are motivated only by the desire for the fruits of their action are miserable because they're constantly anxious about the results of what they do. If I came in here every Sunday attached to who's here, how many people are here, I couldn't do what I do. Right? Some weeks we come in here and the room is packed and I'm thinking, yes, we've arrived, they've got it. And the next week, it's like half the number. And I've been at this game a little while now. It's been 3 years. I'm up for ordination. You can keep me in prayer next month when I go for my panels. But I can't be attached to that. I can't be attached to that. My job is to share the message, is to share whatever it is that is on my heart, however I am led to share, whatever I'm led to talk about, and to do that to the best of my ability. And to feel good about that. And how it lands is not mine, is not my business. right? We're here to plant the seeds, to scatter them. Some of them take root, but some of them are going to blow away. You know, and some of them are never going to germinate, and that's okay. That's okay. I've learned and I've taught myself now that that's okay. I do what I'm here to do. I let it go. I release it, and it's done.
This minister work is good for you. You're getting smarter.
Gail says I'm getting smarter. I hope I am. I'm working at it. I'm working at it. So why is it that, let me go back here, that those who are motivated by the desire for the fruits of their action are miserable? Why are they so anxious?
It's never enough.
Because it's never enough. Because it's never enough. Because this idea of craving, grasping, this, I've got to have it this way, disturbs the mind. We saw lots of clear, pretty lakes. I had a hard time actually finding something that looked like it had that disturbance. But you know, when the water is clear, you can see all the way down. It's nice and still. You can see everything. But then sometimes things come up and it churns up the water and it disturbs it and you can no longer see clearly. So craving and grasping at things disturb our minds. It causes that kind of disturbance. It obscures the mind. It obscures the mind to where you can't see anymore. Things get cloudy. I call that, my acronym for that, some of you know it, is being in the fog. Right? Which is another friggin' opportunity for growth. Fill in whatever F word you choose. Sometimes I use the other one. Yes, I call it being in the fog, and when it happens again, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of these opportunities for growth. I'm really over it. Just give me a break. And craving intensifies the split between the subject and the object. That means when you're really wanting something very badly, the more you're wanting it, the more you're saying, I don't have it, the more it pushes it away from you. This is what happens with this craving. The more you get in that phase of, I need it, I want it really bad, the more you are affirming to the universe that you don't have it. Exactly. And it just creates this kind of cycle of wanting and never feeling like you're fulfilled. It results in unwise decisions and unwanted outcomes, is what happens because you're not thinking from a clear space. So, what day was it? It was Friday. We came home Saturday. Friday night, you know, anybody, like the night before your vacation is over, what do you all do? You start thinking about, I gotta go home, and I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I'm thinking, oh, why didn't I take 2 weeks off? Why didn't I take 2 weeks off? What made me think it was smart to get home at 5 o'clock on Saturday and put a talk together for Sunday? So I started already getting myself worked up. And some of you know, we have kind of a financial situation going on here. And I knew that I was coming home to that as well. So I opened my email Friday night, right before I go to bed. And we had a message, big mistake, yes. Had a message, well, as it turns out, not so much. But anyway, there was a message from our bookkeeper. And the message was, if there are deposits that need to go in the bank, make sure they get in really fast. Because we're digging into funds that we shouldn't be digging into right now. And, you know, like we're in a situation. We're in a situation. I'm just going to say that is the circumstance. And for you new folks, I've been the minister now here for 3 years. And I came up in this center. This was my home church. This is where I found religious science. This is where, and shortly, you know, I've shared this story many times, after I found this place, like my life bottomed out. And I thought it was okay. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. But all at once, everything bottomed out. My business was tanking. My marriage was on the rocks. We were on the verge of divorce. We actually were separated at the time. I was 100 pounds overweight. I mean, it was like everything at the same time. And the hurricanes that hit in 2004, this is like the metaphor for me, these storms, these hurricanes. And I just remember praying, God, just please take it all. Just let me have a do-over, start everything over again. And the storm passed, and of course I was still here. And the house was still here, and the job was still here, and I still had to deal with the husband, and like all of that. Oh, it was so heavy. But I had found this place. And I would speak with Reverend Peggy, and I was learning these new principles and these new ideas, and I was getting to try them out. And slowly but surely, all of these different things started to turn around. And I knew I had found home, I had found my way, and things started to change. And it changed so dramatically for me, so dramatically that I felt like I have to share this with everybody. And it really is my life purpose. I found my purpose through this place. And that is to empower other people with the tools and the principles that I got so that they could make the most of their lives. Right? Other people maybe didn't have financial relationship challenges like I did. Maybe your thing was financial, or maybe yours was health. I had all of it. And I have used this teaching in all of those areas, and I know that it works.
Amen.
And I look out and I see people like Donna and Norma, who, if you ever hear the story of what this woman has been through and come through using these principles and teachings, it will blow your mind. And we'll have her share that one of these days. Look at this woman here up front, sitting here with her legs crossed. How many of you can't do that at 25? Right? But we use this stuff, is what I'm saying. We use these principles, and the life shows it. Life shows it. So I got off on this whole tangent. Where was I? Back to the email. Back to the email from the accountant. So I'm thinking, okay, I've been in here for 3 years. This place has been here over 30 years. It's been entrusted to me. And there is a part of me that very, very much wants to see this grow, become this great big, wonderful, huge thing. Not for me, but because I know that it will touch that many more lives. Right? Because I know that there are people that are out there that are hungry for this teaching, that are looking for this, that are wanting to transform their lives. And we have a way to do it. It's not the only way. It's not the only way, but it's a really pretty awesome way. And it's wonderful to be able to do it in community. To have this tribe of people that believes the same way. And how wonderful it is to go in other parts of the country and find out that our tribe is really way bigger than what we think it is. So anyway, we have this financial situation going on. And it has been going on for a little while. And talking about craving and attachment and desire. How many times I said, this place has been here for over 30 years. It's not going down on my watch. Okay, I can't be the one. It can't happen while I'm at the realm. And I'm like gripping, like white knuckling it sometimes, thinking, it can't go down while I'm the captain of the ship. With a lot of attachment to that. And so I read that night. I got up in the morning. It's turning up again. And I'm starting to feel like all this overwhelm. I've got to put my top together. And we've got this 12-hour flight, of different flights with the layovers and all of that. And I started getting, really kind of in that downward spiral. Anybody ever have that happen? I'm hearing the laughter, and Donna and Norma having a good time, and Grady, and they're all wonderful. And I'm just like, the tears are starting, and I'm just like sobbing, and I don't want to go out there and let them know how upset I am, and why I'm upset, and that I don't want to go home and face all of this stuff, and just really, really strung out. So I go to open my phone because I'm going to do our check-ins for our flight. And I see a text message that says the flight, or that there was a change in the flight, and that we will be in Denver at 7:15 in the evening. Now we're supposed to be in Denver at like 10 o'clock so we can catch the connecting flight, so we can be at Florida by 3:15, so I could be home by 5 and I could start working on my talk. And this thing says, I'm not going to be leaving Denver till 7:15. Oh my God. I'm totally freaked out. I come out and they're saying, what happened to you? So I tell them, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got to get Reverend Maria or somebody else to cover for me, and how are we going to do this? And my husband says, don't worry, give me the phone, give me the number, I will take care of this. Okay, so I'm breathing. You know, my husband's one of those take charge kind of people. He gets the phone, action. Hubby is action. Donna and Norma are surrounding me. It's going to be okay. It's all good. It's all love and light. Okay. I'm breathing. My husband says, where did you get this message? I said, it's on my phone. It's a text message. Just look at it. So he looks at my phone and he says, that was the message when we were leaving Florida. The gate changed, the time changed. That was when we were leaving Florida, not as we're leaving Montana. I was in the fog. I was attached. My mind was obscured. Breathe. And I did, and I breathed, and I started to, let me think about some of the good stuff, and, get myself in a better space, and God, please just take this from me. You know what, if this is mine to do, the way has always shown itself. When I didn't have money for school, somebody would write me a check. When anything happened, I just would always say, God, if it's mine to do, just show me the way, that's all. I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to be attached to how it looks. I just need to let go and let God. And then, I check my text messages again. And I have a message from my aunt. A friend of the family who was here for my uncle's celebration of life that we had a few weeks ago. This is someone I've met like twice. She wants to write a check to the church. And she wants to meet me on Wednesday. Now, I have no idea how much it's going to be. It may just be a few dollars. It does. The point of it is, it didn't even matter. It didn't matter. It was the timing of it. It was the timing of it. To realize that I don't have to know the way. I don't have all of the channels. I don't know what they are. But I know that Spirit does have infinite resources. All I have to do is let go and let God. Right? And if it is mine to do, the way will be shown. And I believe it is mine to do.
Like Eddie said, get out of the way.
That's right. As Eddie Watkins says, get out of the way. Get out of the way. And let God do his thing. Do its thing. Yes. So here are the warnings. Here are the warnings. Number one, we detach from the outcome, but not from our dharma. Okay? We detach from what it's supposed to look like. We don't detach from what it is that we are here to do. Attempts to eradicate or kill our desire. When they say, well, I don't want to desire anything. Those people who were what do they call them, ascetics? And they have them in all different faith traditions. They want to get rid of desires, so they starve themselves. There are some traditions where they even flog themselves, right? So they don't want to feel that desire. But doing that, attempts to eradicate or kill our desire, often kill our goodness and our enjoyment of life. So we're not to do that. You don't want to kill desire. What you want to do is figure out the difference between your aspirations and ego desire. Okay, there are two aspects to desire. We want to cultivate that the distinction between what our ego is wanting and what is our aspiration, what is our soul calling for. Right? Is my aspiration or this idea that this place can't close down, or that all of those crazy things that I was having, is that my ego? Is that me? Or am I wanting this because it is my soul's desire, my aspiration to grow this place? And that's where it has to get pulled apart. That's where it gets teased apart. This community is a community. This church is not my church. This center is not my center. It is our center. It is our center. And I'm here to do the work that serves this community. And if there is a point or a time where it does not serve, what I'm doing is not serving this community, then that would be my time to move on and have someone else here. Or if there is not the support for a community like this, then maybe the doors do need to shut down. Maybe that's what needs to happen. Right? I don't believe that's the case, right? But I am here in the service of the greater good. I am here in the service of spirit. I am here in the service of each one of you. I'm not here for me. It's not about me. I know that I'm taken care of. I know, honest to God, I know that I can go and get a job anywhere I want. If I want to go to another church, I can go to a great big church, I can put in my resumes, I can get hired wherever I want. The fact of the matter is, this is home. This is where I want to be. This is where my family is. This is where my grandchildren are. This is where I came up. I would love to see this community flourish and grow and touch as many lives as it can. And I'm here in the service of spirit. So understand that there is a distinction between your ego desires and what it is that is your dharma, and what you are here to share and to give and to live in this life. Your dharma is your way of staying connected with your true nature. Surrender your life's work to God, to the divine within you, and to the divine within all beings. In this way, your forgetfulness about your true nature, your delusion about who you think you are, will slowly disappear. And you will come into the truth of who you are through living your dharma, through living your joy, through living your passion. That's how you connect with that spirit within. That's the moments of divinity. You know, there are moments when I'm up here and I'm moved to tears up here, or when I'm at the prison teaching and I know that I'm doing my life's work. I feel it. That's the moment. Those are the moments, right? When you're singing, Donna, when you feel that connection, when you're doing yoga, when you're helping someone at the food bank, right? And you get that feeling of, wow, that joy, that overflowing. That's when you're in spirit. That's when you're inspired in the moment. That's what we're all here to feel and to experience and to live from. When you are immersed in your dharma, the wave becomes the sea again. He uses this beautiful analogy in here about the ocean, how each wave looks like it's individual, and it rises up out of the ocean, and it does its thing, and then it goes back to the ocean. Right? And each one of us is like that wave in this ocean of God's stuff. We come up, we rise up out of that ocean of spirit as an individual to express in the ways that only we can express. And then it goes back into the ocean from where it came. You know, and maybe it comes up in another wave. Who knows? Maybe we've been just waves in this ocean, particles in this ocean of God for eons. You know, where we're here for a little bit, life is this mortal costume that we wear for a little while, and then we go back to the sea from where we come, and then we come up in another form, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Right? It's certainly a possibility. What I do know is that this experience in this mortal life will one day come to an end. Right? For each one of us. That's a truth for each and every one of us. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how much money you have. Right? There is one day that will be your last in this lifetime. Therefore, you want to make the most of it. And keep that in the forefront of your mind. You know, we live in a culture that likes to deny that. You know, we don't want to believe, we don't want to think about those last days. When people are in their last days, we shut them off. Doctors don't want to treat them anymore. We like to pretend that's not going to happen. But it is going to happen for each one of us. And when you can really accept that fact, that you're here not just to get through the day, not just to buy a nice car or to, survival, it's not about that. It is about living your dharma. It is about finding those gifts that you came here with and using them in the service of that higher purpose so that you can feel that connection. In this mortal life, you must walk by faith, not by the sight of your limited human vision. That's what this is about. Now, I don't know how we get from here to where I'd like to be. I don't know how that's going to happen. I just have this vision, this idea of us reaching so many more people and so many more lives. Maybe it's going to be through our online presence. Maybe it's going to be that just, next week we have twice as many new visitors. I have no idea how that's going to happen. But the walk is a walk of faith. And knowing that we are divinely guided in all that we think, say, and do. Your job is to express the gifts and the talents and the passions that you come here with that are unique to you. That's all you have to do. Spirit does the rest. And so that leads us to our affirmation.